Hey friends, today we are comparing two vocal mics for live performances. They're both from the same company, a good company, Shure. One is the SM58 and the other is the Beta58a. There's about a $60 retail difference between the two. So what are the differences between those two mics and why is it important for your live performance? The answers are coming right up. The two dynamic vocal mics we're looking at today are the Shure SM58 and the Beta58a. The SM58 runs about $100 retail and the Beta58a runs about $160 retail. You can find links to those products down below. Now, what are the differences and what does that mean to you as a vocalist? Well, stick to the end because there are a few differences which I'll go over, but then I'm going to talk about why it's important and give you a tip or two that should help you with your live performances. Now, the five main differences between the SM58 and the Beta58a are polar pattern, frequency response, output, handling noise, and the grille. I'll go through each of these differences in a little more detail. First off, polar pattern. The SM58 has a cardioid pattern while the Beta has a supercardioid pattern. Both microphones are designed to pick up sound from the front, but the Beta58a rejects best from the sides. If your band produces a lot of stage noise, the Beta58a might be the better bet, as it will be less susceptible to feedback when placed correctly on stage. Speaking of feedback, if you hold your mic while singing, keep it from pointing at any monitors or speakers. That will also help with preventing feedback noise. Difference number two is frequency response. The Beta58 has an extended low end and high end compared to the SM58. This doesn't necessarily mean the Beta58 is better, and depending on the style or tonal characteristics of your voice, you may not always benefit from that extended frequency response. Difference number three is output level. The magnet in the Beta58 has greater sensitivity by 40 dBs and will give you a higher output than the SM58. That said, louder isn't always better. If you're in a metal band and belt or scream lyrics, you might want to choose the SM58 instead of the hotter Beta58. Difference number four is handling noise. This is an easy one. The Beta58 has a better shock mount system, and therefore it cuts down on handling noise. Now, this doesn't matter much if you don't tend to hold your mic and leave it in a stand, but if you do hold your mic, this could be very important. So the Beta58 wins out on the SM58 for this one. Difference number five is the grille itself. The Beta58 has a hardened steel grille, which makes it tougher and more resistant to denting. So if you tend to abuse your mic, hold it, throw it around, that sort of thing, the Beta58 should be a better bet for you. But if you do dent your grille on your microphone, you can get a replacement grille from Shure at a very reasonable price. So when you take a look at all the differences, the Beta58 really is an upgrade as compared to the SM58, which is still a solid microphone. But you do need to take into account a few factors when determining which microphone is best for you. The main things to consider for you when you're buying a mic is what style of music do you sing? What is your singing style? What kind of characteristics are in your voice? I mean, what kind of tonal qualities, the timbre, the color of your voice? Do you have a deeper voice? Do you have a warmer voice? Will that respond better to the lower frequencies that get picked up by a Beta? Or does it not matter because you're solidly in the mid-range and an SM58 would work just great? The other thing to consider is what kind of band are you in? Are you in a band that's really a loud metal band and you're doing a growly kind of voice? Well, then definitely the SM58 is probably good for you, because when you get right up on that proximity response and the output level, it probably will match your voice a little bit better. Now here's the tip that I promised at the top of this video. You've already decided what mic you want and you've gotten it. Here comes the heavy lifting part. It's time to practice with your mic. And this may seem obvious, but even though you've done the hard work to decide which mic will work best with your vocals, now you have to figure out really how does that microphone respond to your voice. In other words, take the time and practice and on your own to figure out how far away you can stand before your volume starts to drop off, or how far off to one side or the other does your volume start to drop off. Because those sorts of things can help you create dynamics during your live performance, especially if you're working at a venue where the sound engineer doesn't really know your band's music and doesn't know how you perform. So they're not going to be riding the faders to figure out, okay, here comes a point where you're going to belt it, and they're going to pull down the faders so that you don't overpower the system. You have to figure out how you can perform with that microphone, the distance away you can be. Also, the other thing is proximity effect. If you're right up on your microphone, is it a microphone that actually starts to muddy your vocals when you're really close to it? Some microphones do. And that's okay. You know, proximity effect can be used towards your advantage, especially if you're trying to get a really deep kind of, I don't know, Barry White sort of sound from yourself. Now, some of us can't actually achieve that no matter how close you get onto your mic, or if you dive inside of it, you're still not going to sound like Barry White. But just know that that proximity effect is there. So figuring out whether you're looking for more clarity or whether you're looking for more of a deeper, darker kind of sound to your vocals at a specific passage, you can use that. The other thing is to figure out how to point your microphone, where you're going to be pointing during live performances, and how sensitive it is to your bandmates' equipment, their amps, their monitors, those sorts of things. And the last thing is, don't cup the mic. Unless you're trying to get a really growly, kind of muddied sort of sound. Now, cupping the mic just basically means taking it and holding it up here. You can do it with one hand, you can do it with both hands, but when your hand's up on the grill, you are actually affecting the proximity effect, the frequency response, by altering what's being picked up. Now, I'd like to just thank you for showing up for this video and sticking around to the bitter end. Please do subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know, leave a comment. You can also find a blog that accompanies this vlog at my website at PamBarrettMusic.com. See you soon.